Her child, a ninth grader at Thomas, mentioned that science teachers tell them constantly that the world will not survive the next few years, or how mankind will not survive the next few years. The biology textbook you are scheduled to approve tonight has a chapter on climate change. It claims that global warming is driven primarily by human activity, that warming has serious consequences, and that we can reduce warming if we implement strong measures to reduce CO2 emissions. Is it true that our doom may be imminent? Is the science settled as these dire warnings imply? Allow me to contrast the textbook and science teacher claims with the claims of several scientists, including Richard Lindzen and Robert M. Carter. Their credentials are not lacking, they are as long as your arm. I quote, "The record offers no support for temperatures being highly sensitive to CO2 levels. Paleoclimate data show little correlation between CO2 and climate. Water vapor and clouds make the largest contribution to greenhouse warming. Ice core measurements show that warming occurs hundreds to thousands of years before an increase in CO2. One molecule out of every 85,000 molecules in the atmosphere is CO2 of human origin. 32 molecules out of every 85,000 is CO2 of natural origin. And we are supposed to believe that man-made CO2 is the primary driver of climate change. Geology shows that all 6 of the great ice ages started when atmospheric CO2 was far higher than at present. Earth has experienced alternating periods of cooling with ice buildup and warming with ice melting, and this was happening long before human CO2 levels increased. Climate has always changed, and it always will. There is nothing unusual about the modern magnitudes or rates of change of temperature, of ice volume, of sea level, or of extreme weather events. The research literature does not support the claim of climate emergency, nor will there be one. None of the lurid predictions, dangerously accelerating sea level rise, increasingly extreme weather, more deadly forest fires, unprecedented warming, etc., none are accurate. Climate change catastrophe is the biggest scientific fraud that has ever occurred. The science on climate has become so systematically corrupted that the supposed experts propounding it can no longer be trusted. A problem that deserves much further investigation is how climate science could continue in its remarkable denial that the aggressive global warming paradigm has been shattered, with now 37 consecutive years of documented systematic failure. The computer models are scarcely worth the computer code they are written in, and certainly the divergence between the model's predictions and empirical observations has become ever wider. The biology textbook praises the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, claiming that the most reliable climate data come from the IPCC. Many scientists disagree. I quote, "The IPCC reports are the expression of the beliefs of a small circle of scientists and interested lobbyists. The IPCC has violated long-held scientific norms and practices. Climate models used by the IPCC to predict temperature are a failure, consistently predicting greater temperature increases than have been seen. The IPCC has attempted to bolster the stance of a tiny minority of scientists and then to pretend that this represents a scientific consensus. Such a consensus, even if it did exist, would be of no interest to science. Climate models predict 2 or 3 times more warming than has been observed. They have already been falsified. Since the forming of the IPCC, a worldwide propaganda campaign has been conducted to raise public alarm about global warming." End of quotes. There is a world of difference between the political narrative on climate catastrophe and the science of climate and its various